Anthony Joshua has basically admitted on a recent interview that he would potentially consider stepping aside and taking a payment and allowing Usyk and Fury to fight. I wondered what you made of that and what that tells you about where Anthony Joshua is. And
I mean, the old saying, action is better than words. You can tell a lot about a person by their action and their decisions. Not so much always about their words. Words can be, deceiving.
Well, it's interesting you would say that, Teddy, because at the start of the interview, he kind of says, I wouldn't, people know better than to offer me a step aside, my people. But then by the end of the video, he's kind of saying, yeah, maybe I would actually. So I don't know if he even knows what he wants to do, but he definitely did. He didn't seem very confident. I mean,
he knows what appeals to him the most.
Yeah,
that's for sure.
Yeah.
If I had to be a forecaster of people's human nature, and I do have to be that in this business, you got to know more than X's and O's. You got to know what a person feels. You got to know what they're inclined to do for the reasons they're inclined to do it. You got to know their human nature. You got to understand human nature. Cuz used to say to me, okay, you're going to teach somebody to slip a punch. It's not a usually athletically required movement where you have to have great abilities. You slip from the waist up. A lot of people don't teach it right, but it should be one piece. Your head, it should be like a metal rod goes down from your head to your waist, and all one piece moves. Because some people move this way. They leave the head on the side and you get clipped, and they don't know why. So you got to move the whole thing, one piece, the whole thing. And what you got to understand, it's not about what you're doing, it's what you're not doing. You don't pull back, you don't turn. If you turn, your head's still in the path to the punch. You pull back, you're still in the path to the punch. So you have to control those things. He said it doesn't take athleticism to make that move. It takes discipline. It takes emotional control. It takes that kind of inner strength. It takes wanting to do it more than not wanting to do it. It takes, if you want to go that far, a lot of things, it takes a complete commitment of your character to get to the point where you can, look at something dangerous, face something dangerous, and not let it make you do what you feel like doing. You feel like pulling away. You feel like turning. You don't feel like staying right in the pocket, waiting for it, and doing that. You have to understand that as a trainer. So you have to understand when a man named Joshua says that, that's what he feels like doing, more than the other things that are required to maybe be great. It doesn't make him a bad guy. It doesn't make him a bad fighter. What it makes him is a guy who is limited to how great he can be. What it makes him is a guy that can't be what all maybe other people want him to be. You can't make someone be what you want him to. I used to believe, to a certain degree, with the will of strength of mind, that I could put that into someone else when they're in a dire situation. And a dire situation is when you get in the ring. That's a pretty tough situation, facing what you have to face. The threat, the unknown, the imagination, the danger. It's a difficult place to be put. And I used to think that I got this from Cuss, that I would just force my will into them. But you can't. They are what they are, and you can make them better by making them aware of things and giving them the tools, the wherewithal they need to deal with those things to the best of their ability, but they still have to want to deal with them. Cuss used to say, people born round don't die square. He said, Teddy, you're going to try to change their nature, but at the end of the day, you're dealing with their nature. So you got to give them surrounding things to make their nature as fortified as possible for the things they're going to deal with. But you're still dealing with their nature. You know, you don't always need a polygraph test to tell the truth. The truth comes at you in ways of action. You know, I used to say when I was calling the fights on ESPN, right now, if there was a polygraph test going on, this fighter would be telling you that he doesn't want to fight anymore. You didn't need him to verbalize it. His actions verbalized it. Oh, the same thing to you, Brian, to that question. I think his action verbalizes how he feels, what's most important to him, where his confidence is and stops, where it begins, where it ends, what's most important. One of the things I said on my podcast when I was breaking down his fight with Usyk in his last fight. And now this might sound mean, but I swear to you it's not mean. It's not meant to be mean. It's meant to be something that a person in the business, as I've been almost 50 years, is aware of. That's all. And I have to be aware of it because I have a responsibility to my fighters to be aware of it, to turn every stone over to give them the best chance to win, and every truth to fight off the things that are untruths. And the fighters don't always like that, but they need it. So when I watched that fight, the most telling thing to me was at the end. Because right after that, correct me if I'm wrong, I get my chronology messed up sometimes, but the Wilder fight came after that, right? The Wilder and Fury fight, right?
Yeah. So right? It was Usyk, AJ first, and then Wilder, Fury 3 after.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Yeah.
So after the Wilder fight, which I picked him to win, which my beautiful brothers and sisters over in the UK will remind me if I forget that. You know, I don't need a chronology for that. They love me. They're gonna remind me. Oh yeah, Teddy, you definitely picked Wilder. And one of the things that people knocked Wilder for was the way he behaved afterwards. A sore loser, let's say. And it wasn't appreciated, and people were, you know, they were on him for that. And I get it, rightfully so. Here's what I said, and I think this, in a nutshell, encapsulates what I'm talking about here. After the fight with Usyk, I kind of wish, if I was his trainer, maybe if I was involved in his future, that Joshua would be a little less of a good loser. Like that he would behave like it mattered more. The greatest fighters and the greatest successes in this world, one of the trademarks of them, for me, as they go about their next business, as if no matter how much success they've had prior, they go about their next situation of whatever it is that brings them success, as if their bank account is still at zero. Joshua behaved after that fight like his bank account is pretty far past zero. Pretty damn good. Mm-hmm. And listen, he's a gentleman. He's a nice guy. He's all of that. And he's made you people proud. But that was my answer. That I wish that he had a little bit of that sore loser like Wilder does in him after a fight that's supposed to be so meaningful. So when
Teddy,
I hear...
it's so funny you would say that, because in this interview, he literally stipulates his 3 things that he values the most. And he says, I want my respect. I want to be thought of as a throwback fighter who fought anyone. And last of all, I want to be known as a good businessman. And that good businessman thing, like, it's only one thing out of the main 3 things. And yet, the more he talked about it, the more he leaned towards, oh, well, maybe I would take the money. Maybe I would. You know what I mean? And it just didn't fill me with that eye of the tiger confidence that you're looking for from an Englishman. I want him to win these fights, but it was just... It's not a good look, is it, when someone's talking about taking a payout instead of taking a rematch in a fight that he was schooled in the original fight, you know?
No, but what it is the truth. You're not happy about it.
Yep.
Because it's not the truth you wanted to hear or that you hoped you would hear.
Mm-hmm.
But you got to give him credit for telling the truth. It's the truth. It's the truth. Michael Jordan was a hell of a businessman. He owns half of Nike. But he would cut your freaking throat out, your heart out on the floor, on that beautiful parquet floor in a second to get another win. No, even though he owned half of Nike.
Yeah.
It didn't matter. That's why Michael Jordan is Michael Jordan. And then there's other guys that are as talented, and this sounds like a far reach, but it's true, as talented as Michael Jordan, but there'll never be Michael Jordan because it didn't matter. Winning didn't matter that much. And listen, sometimes maybe we get things out of perspective. Maybe we get things screwed up. Maybe we're wrong, Brian. You know, you got to be a family man. You got to be this. You got to be a businessman. You got to all those things. But we're not talking about that, are we? No, we're not. No, we're not. We're talking about what we want our guys to be. We want our guys to be everything that they're capable of being. We want to believe that's what they want. That they want it as much as we want it. That we wanted them to say, no, I got enough freaking money. And even if I didn't have enough money, there's something more important than money. I want that freaking title back. Yes. That's what we want them to be. We want them to be that. Yep. That's how we stack up our heroes. That's how we stack up our, the people we maybe don't idolize. That's too strong a word, but that we connect with. That we want representing us. Yeah. That's what we want. You guys play soccer. You have a big soccer. It's the world game. It's the universal game, and you got great soccer teams over there. You want your soccer player when he gets kicked in the shin and there's blood coming down and his freaking knee is twisted. And there's mud on his face. You want him to freaking get up and freaking take that ball and take it down the field and put it in the freaking net. That's what you want. You don't want him saying, I can't play no more. I need a penalty kick. No, you just want him to want what you want. Yeah. Victory! You want him.
It's what you always say, Teddy. It's, I want him to behave like a fighter. You say
that's
that
what you
a lot.
Want.
And it really, it lands with me because that's the thing with AJ in that first fight. When the fight was getting away from him, he seemed content to just allow that to happen. And instead of risking it all to get it back. And that's the problem I've got right now with him.
Listen, like him or not like him, I don't like the personality of Wilder. I believe in telling the truth. I think that's becoming clear, even when it's to my less than my betterment. But it's what got me pushed away from ESPN and corner fights, because I told the truth about a fight in Australia against a guy named Jeff Horn and Pacquiao when I thought that Horn didn't win. Yep. Okay, and you pay the price for those things, and I'm willing to pay that price, no problem. It's okay. I'm not in love with it sometimes, but it's part of the deal. So. You can't have both sometimes. You can't have your cake and eat it too. So I don't love Wilder's personality, but I tell you what I do love about him. He didn't take the step aside money. He said, I want the freaking chance at the title. I want this guy. I want this guy who just freaking didn't beat him. He knocked him out. I'll say it again. He didn't beat him. He knocked him out. I want this. No, but you could get a few $1 million or how many other millions dollars, and you still could. I want it now. I gotta admire that behavior.
And the way he fought like a fighter should fight. He gave everything and left it all in there.
He fought, like I said on my podcast. That's why I gave him a chance. He fought like a guy who was fighting for his identity. He was fighting for who he is and who he can be and who he's allowed to be. And who he can feel like, and who he would see. It's an old, sometimes overused cliche. Who do you see when you look in the mirror? Unfortunately, today, I don't think people see anything. They don't give a crap. They just see a beard or they don't see a beard, and then they leave. And if they see a beard, they put shaving cream on it. Unfortunately, I don't think they freaking see what they should see. But that's what Wilder was really. Sometimes those cliches come true. That's what Wilder was fighting for, Brian, that night. To see who the frick was going to look back at him in the mirror. To see if he ever was a champion. He fought a lot of setups. Let's be honest. They all do. But he fought a lot of setups. and he did. And then he finally fought a fighter, a complete fighter. And he had a draw. Some people didn't think he deserved it, whatever. He had a draw, and then he got knocked out. So was he ever a champion? I'm being very serious right now. Was he ever a champion? He looks in that for himself. He's got to feel like it. Was I ever a champion? I beat him. When I had to fight, arguably the only real fight I ever had to fight. Okay, you could say he fought Ortiz. Ortiz was 40 years old. All right, I'll give you that. Okay, but the time he had to fight a guy in his prime, a good, solid freaking fighter, an undefeated fighter, a guy who wanted to be called what you're called, a champion, a guy who wanted to earn the right to be called a champion, behaved like a guy who wanted to earn the right to be called a champion. The first time you fight, or the second time, the first time you get a draw, the second time you get knocked out. He's not stupid. He has to live with himself before he's got to live with me or you or anybody else's thoughts or even with his bank account. He's got to walk down that street, look in that mirror, and feel like who he earned to feel like. Did he earn the right to feel like a champion? That you could arguably say that the first time he was asked to fight like a champion and with the champion and behave like a champion, he lost? Was he ever a champion? Did he have the right to walk down and say, yeah, that's me, I'm the champ? Or that's the guy who knocked out 30 freaking guys that were doormen somewhere, and now he fights the real champion and he gets knocked out. No, he was fighting for his identity. That's more powerful than anything. He was fighting for the right to feel the way he wanted to feel the rest of his freaking life on this planet. He was real life movie. Sometimes movie stuff becomes reflective of real life. He was Rocky. He was Rocky in the movie. I know it's fictional, my beautiful brothers and sisters over there in the UK, but he was Rocky when he was going to fight Clubber Lang, and Mickey, his trainer, said, I don't want that fight. You're not fighting him. He'll knock you into tomorrow. And what are you talking about? I'm a champion, Mickey. I beat all these guys. They were setups. They weren't real guys. They were setups. This guy would knock your head off. He goes, what are you saying, Mickey? What are you saying? They were fixed fights? No, but they were handpicked. They weren't champions. So what? So I was never a champion? I was never a champion? I was never a champion? So now Rocky had to freaking fight him. After getting his block knocked off, he had to fight him. What was he fighting him for? He wasn't fighting for a purse anymore. I guarantee you that. He had enough money. He wasn't fighting for a freaking title. He already had that. That's paper or whatever they make it of with these titles, these belts. You want a belt? I'll get you a belt. No problem. So he wasn't fighting. I'll get you one. I'll get you a couple of them. He wasn't fighting for that. He was fighting for himself. He was fighting for redemption. He was fighting to stay out of hell. Yeah, regret is hell. It's a solo prison that has bars, believe me.
Ain't that the truth?
He was fighting to freaking know who he was. Who he ever was. Who he ever was. And he was fighting for one last thing. To be what he wanted to be the rest of his life. To feel the way he needed to feel. Like a champion the rest of his life. That's what got him off the floor. That's what got him this freaking close to winning that fight by knockout when he dropped Fury twice. That's what allowed him to go where his body didn't want to go anymore. Where his body almost couldn't go. He dragged his body to those late rounds. Dragged it. And you know why? Because of every word I just said. That's why. The only difference was he was in there with the same kind of guy. He was in there with the same kind of guy. The guy that looked at the devil and told him to get lost. The guy who looked at the devil in the eyes, making him think about taking his own life, which no man should ever think about. And he told the devil, get out of here. Get the F out of here. He was fighting that guy. And the guy who knew how to fight better. There's no disputing that. Cuz used to say to me, Teddy, it's a prerequisite. People say, oh, he's tough. He's that. In our business, you better be tough. Otherwise, you better get another vocation. You better get another living. Go out on the street corner and freaking sell Italian ices somewhere. All right? Really? Go ahead. You better be tough. Because would always say to me, you got two tough guys. And then one becomes smarter. He's smarter. He's better taught. He's got better technique. He's more together. He's more of the package. Boom. That guy becomes twice as tough. He becomes tougher. It's true. That's what we had that night. But everything I just described, that behavior, everything that I just put out there, Joshua, I'm not knocking him. He's not driven by that. Yeah. I'm not saying everyone is. It's obvious that's what separates people and makes people special. But I'm not saying he's not a good fighter. But I am saying he's not that. He's not that. And he had it, he had his choice, and his choice is to do what he said: be a businessman, be smart, take the money, and okay, that's fine. But guess what? That shows up in the ring. It shows up. It doesn't get left. You don't say, "Oh, I'm business. Now I'm putting this hat on. I had my business hat. Now I'm putting my fighter's hat." I'll take it a step farther, Brian. I'll put my championship special hat on right now. No, it don't work that way. It's connected. It's connected. And it shows. And it showed already. And it has shown already. And that's why, I tell you, I heard he's coming to the States and all that. I don't know if he made his decision yet to get another trainer. I don't know if that's because I don't follow it as close as you might think, somebody that's in the business. But, heard like everyone else that he went over to, see Canelo's training, went to see this guy, went to see that guy, went to see a new tailor, whatever. In the States, we got good tailors over here too. But I obviously right away people said, Teddy, did he come to see you, or did he talk to you? No, and nor should he. Why? I'm not that important. But I'll tell you one thing. The funny part was somebody said, if he did, we shouldn't talk in ifs. No, but Teddy, if he did, and here you're gonna, well, maybe you. Not that you don't understand where I'm at already, but this kind of drives it home. And this was somebody very close to me asking me the question. I'll say who it was. It was my son. My son is the director of scouting for the Vegas Raiders. My daughter, I got two children. I'm very blessed. She's a lawyer. He does that. And it's not because of what they are professionally. It's what they are as people. Wow. I am so proud of them. I'm proud. He's a very smart. She's very smart. He's a very smart kid. And he's the only one who would ask a question like this. He said, Dad, I know he's not coming. I get it. He's never going to ask you whatever. And you're retired now anyway. But just for me, because I already think I know the answer. And I think it's the opposite of what people would think they're going to hear. But if you had your choice between training him, if he did ask you, and training Wilder, who would you, very interesting, who would you take, Dad? And without hesitation, and he just smiled, because I said, Wilder. I can't stand the guy. We don't like each other. I don't like his personality. I don't like the way he conducts himself, the way he talks sometimes. But it's no contest. I like the way he behaves. I like the way he behaves in that freaking ring. I like the way that he puts it all on the line. I like the way he shows you where his cards are, to the point where what he wants, what's important to him. I can work with that. The other guy, it would be much easier. He's a nice guy, probably maybe a nicer guy, I don't know, but a guy you could get along with and everything else. But he's not the guy that I want to be in a foxhole with.
It's funny that this kind of comes back to where you were sort of describing your issues with Mike Tyson. Is a lot of people spoke about Anthony Joshua in the exact same way. He's a natural. He's got it all: the speed, the agility, the power, the reach, the size, everything. But when he's been tested by Andy Ruiz, and now obviously Usyk, did he pass those tests? And obviously he came back against Ruiz and fought him in a completely different way and all of that. But a lot of people weren't happy with how he behaved in the corner when he was getting beat up, when he didn't show the willingness that Tyson Fury showed. And I guess now, for that reason, that is why you would pick Wilder, because of that lack of that certain aspect of a fighter.